From 1965 to 1977, Srila Prabhupada traveled the world preaching, working tirelessly translating his books, while at the same time keeping in constant communication with his disciples through personal letters. It is through these letters that we are able to derive life lessons, material and spiritual, as well as appreciate Srila Prabhupada's loving care for his disciples. Let us now hear from one of those fortunate devotees who personally received correspondence from His Divine Grace.
Thank you for letting me speak a little bit about some of the letters that I received from Srila Prabhupada. This was at a time where we didn't have computers, laptops, cell phones. We did not have an internet, and we didn't have social media and social media networks of all types. The way we communicated Prabhupada's leelas and pastimes and instructions was basically through letters that we broadcast around the world. And Prabhupada encouraged me in writing to continue broadcasting the glories of his teachings and the Sankirtan movement. And so I took it that many of the letters that I received were not just personal time and place letters just for me. Not at all. Many of them contain instructions and messages that are meant to be broadcast throughout all of ISKCON forever. And with that in mind, I've selected some letters to read to you today. But I want to start with something that's so personal, it ends up having a Srila Prabhupada instruction for the whole movement, and it is about ISKCON's first saint, Jayananda Prabhu. What I witnessed was a divine intervention by our Supreme Lord in enabling Jayananda to rise above the pain. The pain was there. It wasn't taken away, but his consciousness was so fixed on it. And I watched in wonder and amazement. I can only explain it as Krishna appearing to help Jayananda in this final moment of his departure to think of him. So over the next 10 minutes, I watched Jayananda trying to stretch out his legs that he was holding close to his chest, his knees, and slowly he was able to stretch out one leg and then the other. His arms, very slowly, he moved them to his sides. He had stopped moaning and groaning in pain, completely stopped. And his last act in that body was to somehow lift his head. We had a tape recorder, continuing loop of Prabhupada chanting japa by his bed. He lifted his head and placed his ear on the speaker so he could hear Prabhupada chanting the holy names. And as soon as he was able to do that, he left the body. And when I think of this over the year, I think of it all the time, every year, especially at different portions of Bhagavad Gita. I'm thinking, this is a miracle. I witnessed Krishna intervening to save his devotee, to protect his devotee, to enable his devotee to come to him. So I wrote this up in great detail in a letter to Srila Prabhupada. And I received a reply dated May 11th, 1977. And I'm just going to read the paragraph about Jayananda. Jayananda's death is glorious. It is very good that he had stated, "What is the use of such a useless body? Better to give it up." He has left his body very wonderfully, and he has been transferred to Vaikuntha. I have already sent a condolence letter for publication in Back to Godhead. That was before Prabhupada got the details of his disappearance. Everyone should follow the example of Jayananda. I am very proud that I had such a nice disciple. If possible, Jayananda's picture should be hung in the Rath of Lord Jagannath. And in all of our temples, one day may be set aside for holding a festival in his honor, just as we do on the disappearance day of the other great Vaishnavas. As far as I know, this message is so unique. Prabhupada declaring that he actually went to Vaikuntha. Prabhupada pronouncing him as a great Vaishnava saint that we should have festivals for every year. Prabhupada stating that his picture should be on every Rath cart of every festival in the world. Prabhupada's love and appreciation of Jayananda it's hard to reach an end to how Prabhupada felt, how much love and appreciation Prabhupada felt for having such a disciple as Jayananda, where he could state definitively he went back to Vaikuntha. So that is a letter from Srila Prabhupada on the actual details of Srila Jayananda's disappearance, May 11, 1977. The next letter that I selected is dated August 14, 1976. We had collected Dakshin for Prabhupada's Guru Puja, along with photographs of Rukmini and Dwarkadish and reports of so many activities in New Dwarka, and we sent it to Prabhupada. And on August 14, 1976, he responded to all the devotees in New Dwarka. My dear sons and daughters, please accept my blessings. I'm in due receipt of your letter dated August 9 and the enclosed dakshin and pictures of the murtis in New Dwarka, which I am having framed and put on my wall here in Bombay. If you feel at all indebted to me, then you should preach vigorously like me. That is the proper way to repay me. Of course, no one can repay the debt to the spiritual master, but the spiritual master is very much pleased by such an attitude by the disciple. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. Our only business is to be fixed up in devotional service by pleasing the spiritual master. Those who are not fixed up have various lines of action. The real ocean of mercy is Krishna. It is the duty of the spiritual master to tell his disciples to come to that ocean and be happy. The spiritual master's duty is to lead the disciples to this ocean. I am trying my best, and if you try to follow, surely you will benefit. So that's a wonderful instruction that we can meditate on till the end of our lives and beyond. The next letter that I selected is the resultant letter when we reported to Srila Prabhupada of the first literally mass book distribution on the planet Earth, which was conducted by the New Dwarka Sankirtan devotees in December 1972 3 days, December 22, 23, and 24, we went out, and in those 3 days, maybe we had 15 or 18 devotees. We distributed almost 18,000 books and magazines. That was the first letter I actually wrote to Prabhupada describing the Christmas marathon, or the first book distribution marathon. He responded on January 9, 1973, from Bombay. My dear Rameshwara, please accept my blessings. I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated December 27. And with great happiness, I have read your figures of amounts of books sold during the 3-day period, December 22 through 24, 1972. It is scarcely believable that more than 17,100 books could have been sold by one temple in 3 days. That indicates to me that people are at last becoming a little serious about this Krishna consciousness movement in your country. Otherwise, why should they buy our books? But they can see that our boys and girls, devotees, are so much sincere and serious to distribute the message of Krishna consciousness. They are at once struck by seeing them, and therefore they appreciate and purchase. This is unique in the world. Perhaps we are the only sincere persons on this whole planet. At least our books are not to be seen anywhere else. So I am so much pleased upon all of the boys and girls in Los Angeles and all over the world who are understanding and appreciating this unique quality of our transcendental literature. And voluntarily, they are going out to distribute, despite all circumstances of difficulty. So by this effort alone, they are assured to go back to home, back to Godhead. Excuse me. Assured. In order to change this materialistic society and prevent them from gliding to hell, first thing is to educate them. And the letter goes on and on. But what has stayed with me all these years about this letter is Prabhupada describing that the secret to book distribution is the devotee's internal sincerity in wanting to educate and save fallen souls. And Prabhupada credits that sincerity more than any other quality of how the devotee looks, talks, or anything else. He credits that spiritual sincerity with causing the non-devotees to stop and buy the book. So this is a letter that is the secret for all time of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada came to stay in Los Angeles a few months later, and it was my habit to type up a daily book distribution report at night, run it over to Prabhupada's quarters, list what had happened, where we went, and the names of the devotees and what literatures they sold that day. And I would wait at the bottom of the stairs, or sometimes I'd walk up very timidly and find Brahmananda and give it to him so he could read it to Prabhupada. One day, Srila Prabhupada took the letter that I had written, put it on his desk, picked up his pen with his lotus hands, and wrote a personal note on that same letter and told Brahmananda, give it back to me. And that note, you can see Prabhupada's handwriting. Maybe you can't see it that well, but it's Prabhupada's handwriting at the top. Prabhupada Nectar, after being informed of Sankirtan results, Quote, my dear boys and girls, you are working so hard for broadcasting the glories of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. And thus, my Guru Maharaj will be so pleased upon you. Certainly, my Guru Maharaj will bestow his blessings 1,000 times more than me. And that is my satisfaction. All glories to the assembled devotees. NB, which stands for note below. Everyone should go with the Sankirtan party as soon as possible. End quote. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. What strikes me the most about this is that there's no way to measure the ocean of mercy that is Prabhupada, that is within him, and that he is bringing to this planet, to this world. There's no way to measure its depth and length and breadth. It's an unlimited ocean of mercy from Prabhupada. And we all know that and feel it. So when he says that his Guru Maharaj is going to increase that 1,000-fold, this is mind-boggling. If you take the time to really think about that, this is overwhelming beyond anyone's ability to compute or calculate. Just marvel at what Prabhupada is saying will happen regarding sales figures. Endeavor in this way. These sales figures, this is the only solace in my life. When I hear that my books are selling so nicely, I become energetic like a young man. It is very good report that the printers are also surprised at our sales figures. So I remember reading this amazing conversation between Lord Sri Chaitanya, Krishna himself, and Haridas Thakur. And Haridas Thakur is observing and hearing how anxious Lord Chaitanya is to save the souls. He's so anxious. He doesn't know how they'll all be saved. He doesn't know how not only the moving, but even the non-moving living entities will be saved. The idea of God being an anxiety, like everything else about God, is infinite, endless, infinite anxiety, which is something we can never even, who would have ever thought God can be an anxiety about anything, right? Well, Srila Prabhupada embodies that mood. Srila Prabhupada is in complete anxiety, how to save all the conditioned souls of this world, all the fallen souls. He's always, regardless of what conversation is going on, what work he's doing, we see him in so many different ways, but internally he is always in anxiety about saving everyone. And when he says that this is the only solace in my life, these book distribution results, he's telling us the only relief I ever get from that anxiety to save everyone is when you bring me these reports about the sale of my books. That is what relieves Srila Prabhupada of this spiritual, intense anxiety that he feels all the time to save everyone. So I know that some temples have a practice of reading book distribution scores in the morning program as part of their morning announcements. I urge the devotees to reflect on what Prabhupada wrote. Don't think as soon as they're reading that, it's time for you to go into your japa bag and just walk away chanting japa. Instead, stand there, sit there, listen to the scores, and meditate on how Prabhupada must be reacting as they're read in front of his murti. We're giving him the only relief in his life. He said that. This is the only relief in my life. So we should not be inattentive about this. We should make it our relief, meaning let us come to the platform of being so anxious to save every soul that hearing the book scores will give us some solace as well.
Very
You read a
much.
Prabhupada letter the first time, if you read it 50 years later, you're feeling the exact same emotion as the first time. It's
Right.
transcendental. Thank you again.
Thank you. Glory
My
to Srila
obeisance to
Prabhupada.
all. Hare
Haribo
Krishna.
Jai.